Growing up without our parents was a rough experience, but the worst happened when my brother got into drugs.
He spent all our savings to purchase drugs.
Isolated himself from his family members, and spent most of his time with his friends.
Wow, I did high as I did like this.
He got into many drugs from pills to weed, syrup, and he injected himself. He became very violent and got into trouble. He spent days outside without coming home. The drugs began to eat him gradually. It was painful seeing him lose his mind, but it was more painful when we lost him forever.
Stay safe. Don't do drugs. This is Narco Tales.
Welcome to Narco Tales. I am Ejiga Victoria, and this is where the real stories of substance dependence, struggles, and recovery come to life. Today's story is one I've been eager to share with you because it's raw, it's real, and it's deeply human. Our guest today has lived through the kind of experience many fear to speak about and has turned his pain into purpose. And if you joined us last week, you've heard of Kenneth's harrowing journey to substance dependency. Today, he returns to tell us what came after. Welcome back to the show, Kenneth.
Pleasure to be here.
You look great, by the way.
Thank you so much.
So, last week we journeyed through your experiences, how you helped out from school despite your parents' effort. So, we want you to just take us through your experience. For them, I want to know what was the effect of all these, experiences you had. How has it affected your relationship? Your family, your social life, education, and health-wise. How did it affect you?
First of all, I'd like to thank the NDL again for this opportunity because when you give this type of platforms, it's a platform for strengthening prevention efforts across the country. And I must say this is highly commendable. So when I look at the effects on substance use as normal, it will usually be in three categories. I would say physical, psychological, and social. And in terms of physical consequences, I would say there was a lot of restlessness. Sometimes I was not feeling restless. I was feeling restless. Sometimes I couldn't get enough. No, I'll not say sleeplessness. I could always get sleep. I used to sleep a lot. I would say I was sleeping. I think I was too docile. I was too relaxed.
Would you call that like as one of the side effects from this?
Yeah, because I was too relaxed. I could have been more pushful. I could have been more forthcoming, moving with my education. And I would just had this, just relax. This. So I was more relaxed physically. Sometimes I'll be restless. If I'm awake, I'm restless. But when it's time to sleep, I'll oversleep. I was too relaxed. And other things would include social. I think my parents through a lot, especially my mom. My mom was my mom was also experiencing the same restlessness that I did. I was into music, I was into entertainment. So the same way that cameras here, there was always cameras in my house. I was always in front of camera. They would come, they interview my parents. This thing, they knew that they had a talented child, and the child was going places, but they kept having this unrest because of the substance use. So it would this was they were meant to be happy that my child is always on TV, but they would always have this drawback like
There's no fulfillment there.
yeah, they always have this drawback like he can be more, he can be more. And I was like that. Then other circumstances, of course, you know that anybody that uses substances, sometimes you might have one or two run-ins with the law, or be called to come and bail out a friend. It's in the instances where I had to go bail out friends, and instances like that, and it wasn't a nice experience having to
Or was there
meet
any
police.
time?
Eh?
Was there any time someone had to come and bail you out?
There was
Or
no
you were
time
the one
that
always going to rescue
I was the one
your
always
friend?
going to rescue people.
Okay.
Rescue. It's always been wonderful situations. Always been wonderful situations. I have a lot of memories. There was this friend that I had, and he was my neighbor. When I had later stopped using substances, he used to come to me to ask me for money. Like, can I get money? And I know that this guy is going to use this money, so I used to stop. But there was this last time he came to me and said, what he needs is malaria medicine, this no Panadol. I said, how much is Panadol? He said I should give him 1K. I said Panadol is 150.
You don't want to
50,
be
100K, enabling him.
Okay.
So when I gave him the man, and that was the last time I saw him. He was my neighbor. His brother is an aeronautic engineer trained in Russia. The dad was a big NNPC staff, and we found out that this guy had, and there was an accident. He was crushed by cars. But later, my parents are close to his parents. They said that close to someone that's close to his parents. They said that he had tried to get drugs, to buy drugs. They could not give him money in the house. They locked all the places in the house. He could not sell stuff because he was selling stuff from the house. And he went out one day to go and try to, what he could not get in the house, he wanted to go and get it outside. They went to go and pick something somewhere and they shot him. And when they shot him, they found ID on him and they brought him. The policemen said that when they brought him to the house, the policemen were saying that if they knew he was from this type of house, they would have preferred to bring him back and collect money from the parents. And they buried him that morning. So I'd seen a lot of circumstances with police, a lot of social consequences, and friends that their lives were snuffed out because of their hunger to satisfy themselves.
Yeah, but back to the question again. How about your education? How did it affect you? Even your social life. Earlier on you said you were into arts or something like that.
Yeah.
So how did this affect you? Was it like when you take it to enhance your performance, or at some point because you also sleep a lot?
Yeah.
So did it affect you from going out for your shows? Or?
So growing up, I was opportune to I'll not say I was always, but I was opportune to usually find myself in front of the cameras like I am right now. And so I used to feel like you couldn't be creative without using substances, as at that point in my life. But later on, when I stopped using substances, I discovered that you can still be creative even if you don't use substances, because creativity is something that exists and it can be influenced. So I found positive ways to influence my creativity. My education was a journey. It was a journey. And it is the accumulation of the journey that enables me to speak at conferences, to address governors, to address senators, and to also be here on Narco Tales, because the experiences I learned while going to different schools when I finally graduated in Accra, in Ghana. I finally graduated has now put me in a position to be able to speak as an authority on these things. So it affected my education, but in as much as it affected my education, it was part of my education. It would have been a journey, something that could have lasted shorter, ended up being prolonged. But as a Christian and as a clergyman, I believe that God has a reason for things that He puts us through.
Now we'll take a quick break. But first, a reminder that Narco Tales is here to break stigma and sparkle healing, one story at a time.
I was the head boy in my primary school, senior prefect and best graduating student in my secondary school, but drug abuse almost ruined my life.
I was on an average of 2 grams of cocaine per day.
I was taking 8 ampoules of pentazosine daily.
European shisha, cocaine.
I became a user, a dealer, and a gangster.
I saw other users drowning. I knew I didn't want to be like them, but I was already trapped.
My family disowned me.
My employment was terminated.
I sold my car, sold my house. I'll go out well-dressed and return shoeless, shirtless in exchange for drugs.
I was seeing things that were not real, and I once stabbed myself because I felt something crawling under my skin.
I contacted NDLEA and started therapy.
I spent 3 months in therapy.
I spent 8 months.
It's easy to relapse, but your mind has to be stronger than the cravings.
Drugs does not love you. You are not the one using drugs. Drugs are the one using you. Say no to drug abuse.
Welcome back. Just before the break, Kenneth was sharing the testament of his actions and how it dragged him to rock bottom. Let's dive back in and hear the rest of the story. All right, thank you, Kenneth. What steps did you take to recovery?
Well, I would like to say recovery was a journey. My recovery process was after I had that challenge that I had to leave Abuja. I believe that was God just helping me because I was not interested in rehab or anything at that point, but being separated from that environment and staying with my auntie that was a reverend, she never judged me or anything. All she told me that in this house, we go to church on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. And while I was there, I was in a separate environment. I started exercising. There was a gym close by. I started using the gym, working on my personal, and I followed her to church for a while. Then I started to remember those my friends that were always with me. We used to go to the parties, and I would call them, and I noticed they were always still having fun. I was like, I thought I was the life of the party. Where is all this that's still having that fun? So while I was there, I began to have personal reflections, and I was attending the church at that point in time. And in the church, there were always these outrageous tales, as I would say it at that time. Someone would come and say, I have a testimony. I say, okay. Person would say, I was in a dream, I was inside a cage. Pastor came, opened the cage and brought me out. I say, I thought they were hallucinating. No, I thought it was Nigerian movies. I was like, oh, this is what these Nigerian pastors do. So I was like, I was watching it. Another person said I was in a dream. I did not have baby for 10 years. Pastor came, I was inside a room. Pastor opened the room, brought me out and gave me baby. Now I'm pregnant. I say, these are where they have the stories. But I noticed that my life was at a standstill and I was just there. I was in a state I didn't know anybody. All I knew was my auntie and her family, and there was nobody else. All her children are abroad. Some of her children are Harvard graduates, and I was just there. I was like, so I said, okay, let me give this church thing a try, because people are always saying, the pastor was always saying, if you give me 3 months, 3 months. I was like, no pastor ever told me deadline for God to show up in your life. So I was like, okay, I told my auntie, I want to meet this pastor. And she was like, okay. She arranged a meeting, and she arranged a meeting for me to meet the pastor. And when I met the pastor asked me, what do you want? I said, I want to be able to take care of myself. That's all I want. I don't want anything else. I'm tired of everybody always giving me their opinion on my life. I want to be able to take care of myself. I said, okay, I should give her 3 months. I should join her in prayer and fasting. And in church, they used to pray and they used to fast. So I started off in the church and I just started up with the praying, started up with the fasting. Then there was a particular day while I was fasting and praying, I had like something I would call an encounter. It was like I just drifted for a moment, my eyes closed and I slept off, but I still felt like I was awake. And there was someone that was talking to me, and he was telling me that he wants to make me so rich. But if I said I want to give you $1 million, but if I give you this money, you're going to kill yourself and you kill like 5 people with you. I was like, how do you mean? I was like, remember the time that your friend told you to go and get a land, and after you buy the land, he's going to pay you agency, pay you commission and this, and with those things that you're paid, you should take care of yourself. He said that you'd have easily just gotten a nice car, fill the car up with drugs, get to a hotel, rent out the down floor of the hotel, get like 5 of your friends, say that today we're going to kill ourselves and somebody will die. And it just hit me that if God, that's the person that is meant to be able to bless me without compulsion, feels that his blessing on my life will be detrimental to myself and detrimental to other people around me, I need to pause and relook my life. And in that point of deep sober reflection, I said, okay, I'm going to work on this. And intentionally, I started working on it. It's not like everything went away in one day. I cut off substances and I said maybe just marijuana, cigarettes, and alcohol is what I'll take. And I was working on it. I was still going to church. I was listening to the word. I was praying. I was fasting, and I didn't know anybody in town at that point in time. But I met my neighbor. My neighbor introduced me to his brother. His brother could sing too, and we used to practice our songs together. While we were practicing our songs together, someone heard us and said they have a free studio, that we don't sound like Bini artists. I'm like, I'm not a Bini artist. Don't ever say that. So I said that we should come to the studio to record a free song. So we recorded a free song. They're like, okay, can you do a free album? I'm like this thing is working. So as those things were happening, I was still cutting down because I could see like God was intentionally helping me as I was changing my habits. And I cut down. I said, okay, we'll stop a few of these other things I was doing. And one night when we came back, I left my neighbor. He went to his own compound. There, one elderly man approached and said, why are you boys useless? You leave the house early in the morning, come back late in the night. I was like, no, that we're artists. We go to the studio. The guy was like, He does not even have a job. He just came from London. Can he be our manager? So we now had the manager. The manager will take us, we'll go perform our songs. Then the manager now told us one day that his colleague is coming from the UK to Nigeria to manage a Nigerian record label in Edo State owned by one of the monarchs. And I was like, wow, this is just 2 months. I went to meet my pastor. I said, Pastor, all the prayer is working. They are coming. They want to sign us. This pastor was like, I should just keep on with the prayers. So as at that point in time, I even cut off marijuana and I was only taking alcohol and cigarettes. I was going to the gym. And when they came, they gave us a record deal. The record deal was each person won 1 car, each person 1 house to share, each person won 1 million naira. But when I read the contract, I was quick to sign the contract, but my friend had already finished school. He was even planning his master's, and he was telling me they've cheated us here, they've cheated us here, they've cheated us here. And I read it over and over again, and I didn't see anything. That was when I realized I need to go back to school. So I now realized that if I could be intentional about my life for just a period of 3 months, and I will see these small changes, and the record deal and this thing I'd wanted since came in that period, that means even the record deal or this thing is not my challenge. I need to be intentional about myself. So that's when I decided to go back to school. And that's how my journey, that's how recovery happened, and I went back to school.
Quite interesting. That means at some point, even before you paid a visit to the pastor, you've already decided in your mind that I think it's time to break up with these drugs and the rest of them. And while you were still in your auntie's house, was there any time you like, let me relax a little?
Yeah, there are situations that would occur that you would think about, let me do this, but the power of conviction is something that's strong. There are 3 things that I feel were involved in this journey. 1, separation and change of environment from places where the influence was strongest. 2, coming to a point of sober reflection. That's like ground zero. So that's the point of sober reflection. And 3, having a good support system. With any 2 of these things, you can make it, you can get through it. So even right now that we work with people in terms of outpatient treatment, in terms of faith-based interventions for substance use, we always work to have a support system with the family. We always talk with the people and share our personal stories and testimonies with them to bring them to a point of sober reflection, to look at themselves, and we work on how we can separate them, either physically or spiritually.
Okay, I think your auntie also played a major role.
A major role. There was a point
for her not to be judgmental.
Yes.
There's nobody that will hear that, oh, this person is into such lifestyle, and be like, you want to protect your
support
home.
System.
Yeah, she gave you that
support system.
She welcomed, she was receptive despite everything. But we want to say a very big thank you to your auntie and also to you. Thank you very much. But before we let you go for today, we want to have you talk to people out there, your advice, younger ones, those that are already into it. So what's your advice for people out there?
So I want to let you know that be smart, don't start. Drug use comes with risks, and sometimes the risk might lead to death, but they come with risk. So I want to advise you, be smart, don't start. And if you find yourself at the other side of the table where you feel like you have gone too deep in, I want to let you know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Substance use is a chronic relapsing brain disease, but it's also a disease that can be treated. So you can get help. Help is available. You can dial the NDLA drug-free toll line that could be displaying right now on the screen. You can Google the drug-free help net. It has a list of organizations in different geopolitical regions in Nigeria that can give free psychological first aid. You can Google Enuite International Foundation, or you can Google Safe Space. Safe Space. Remember, drug use comes with risk. The risks sometimes are too heavy for you to bear, your family to bear, and the community to bear. Be smart, don't start.
Thank you very much. As we close this chapter of Narco Tales, I hope you carry today's story with you, that recovery is possible and hope is real. And to you watching with an open heart, until we meet again next week. Bye.
So the money laundering that you're talking about is the one that is not tied down to the predicate offense of drug. You understand? So that kind of money laundering investigation, we have power under Section 4 of the NDLA Act, which says if somebody is living above his means, is accumulating assets unabated, and you don't know where he got his money, you can apply under Section 4 and get the consent of the Attorney General of the Federation to investigate him, because his means of livelihood is not commensurate to his ostensible income. So you understand? So we have power to tie that law, but the Attorney General must give us the consent.
Don't do drugs. Don't do drugs. Don't try it though. He go choke you up. He go steal your sunshine up. He go shock you up. He don't kill him any youth for my area. Even for your area. When you start it to stop, it not go easy. As you dey drag am go, he dey drag you down. Water come out from my eyes, oh. When I remember all the guys, oh. Way many of them kiki bucket, oh. Some cut to socket, oh. Make we don't forget, oh. No dey talk it, oh. Say, don't do drugs. Rock up you see body, oh. Don't go wound your busy body. If you die, you go sad, oh. Oh yeah, help me tell somebody. Say, rock up you see body, oh. Body, oh. Body, oh.
This message is brought to you by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA.